Said we're on 133A, about 4 lines down. Okay. Again, still dealing with this controversy of leprosy and Mila. We saw that that was the issue. So we come back now to discuss this in more detail. Amar Mar, the master said, Basar, flesh, afal pi sheyesham beheret imol. Even though there is a form of leprosy there, one should circumcise. Divrei Rabbi Yoshaya. It's the view of Rabbi Yoshaya. Okay. Now, lama likra. So the pasuk asks, why then do I need a pasuk to tell us this? Okay. Davar she'ein mitkavenhu. Okay. Isn't this a situation, says the Gemara, where the removal of the leprous skin is not an intentional act, it's an unintentional act. Okay. The intentional act is doing the Mila. Okay. So if all right, and when we do an act and there is unintended ramifications, the Gemara generally tells us the attitude is that the person is not chayav, right? So that's its point. V'davar she'ein mitkaven mutar. And when the situation occurs, okay, like it's almost like a psik reshe kind of situation, okay, it's permitted. So Abaye says as follows, Lo nitzracha ela Rabbi Yehuda, that the use of the pasuk was only needed, says Abaye, because of the view of Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar davar she'ein mitkaven asur, whose approach is that when it's an unintended result, an unintended act, one it is still forbidden. Rava Amar, and Rava now says as follows, okay, Afilu tema Rabbi Shimon. You could even say that this follows the view of Rabbi Shimon. Why? Says Rava this, right? Modeh Rabbi Shimon psik reshe velo yamut. Because Rabbi Shimon does hold with the concept of end result, so to speak. Cut off the head, and yes, the person is going to die. Okay? Which we understand, okay, is resulting acts. Right? V'abaye. So the Abaye says, Lit le hai svara, is the fact that Rav, as Abaye, not accept this kind of reasoning. Abaye v'Rabba damrei travayu. But wasn't it both Abaye and Rava who both said the following? Modeh Rabbi Shimon b'psik reshe v'lo yamut. That both of them agree that Rabbi Shimon holds the concept of psik reshe, an intended act carried out still would not be held responsible. So he says, Batar d'sham'a miraba savra or savara. It was after he heard Abaye, after he had heard this statement from Rava, that's when he accepted that logic and perspective. Okay, we pick up now. Ikedamatne, and there are those that teach laha, the Abaye v'Rava, aha. Okay, there are those that teach this statement of Abaye and Rava in regards to the whole question of being careful about the situation of leprosy and not removing it. Namely, what is it on this particular item? Namely, Hishamer b'nega hatzarat l'shmor ma'od v'la'asot. Okay, that when it says to do it, okay, to do anything about, so to speak, removing or hiding the leprosy, okay, that's forbidden. La'asot iyata'oseh, to do something. In other words, a specific act, okay, to remove it, hide it, cover it, things like that. That is, it should not, so to speak, intentionally cut it off, right? Aval ose'ata basiv, okay? But if you were, let's say, for example, to do something else that, take the example that the Gemara is giving, that we take a rope, okay, and tie it around a leg, for example, right? Or bamot, sha'al gabei ktefo, or he was to lift a pole and put it on his shoulder, okay? And as a result of that, the spot of leprosy was then destroyed, removed, etc. Ve'im avra, says the Gemara. Okay? In that case, if it goes, it goes. V'halama likra. And so therefore, why do we need the pasuk? Davar she'en mitkavenhu. Isn't it simply, again, the result of an unintentional act? V'davar she'en mitkaven mutar. And we say that the result of an unintentional act is permitted. Amar Abai, says Abai lo nitzricha ela Rabbi Yehuda. So again, Abai explains the pasuk was only needed, again, because of, in this case, Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar, davar she'ein mitkaven asur, who holds that the result of an unintended act still is a prohibition, is forbidden. Rava Amar afilu tema Rabbi Shimon. And Rava would say, you could also say it is according to Rabbi Shimon. Umode Rabbi Shimon psik reshe v'lo yamut. And does this mean that Rabbi Shimon holds in the view of psik reshe, a result of an act, okay, even though that wasn't planned? Ve'abaye v'lehai svara, and Abaye doesn't hold from this view. V'ha'abaye v'Rabba da'amri travaihu again. And it says, and don't Abaye and Rabba both said, Modeh Rabbi Shimon psik reshe v'lo yamut. That according to them, Rabbi Shimon does hold with the concept of psik reshe, result of an act. L'batar d'shamei merabba svara. And then we come again to the point that after Abaye heard it from Rabba, he accepted that logic. So we're continuing now. Va'abaye, and as far as Abaye is concerned, aliba de Rabbi Shimon. Okay, he seems to follow the perspective of Rabbi Shimon before he accepted Rava's statement. Okay. Hi basar ma'i avidle. So if that's the case, how does he understand this issue of this flesh, removing the flesh? What does it imply? Amar Rav Amram. So Rav Amram now explains. Bo'omer l'kotz b'harato hu mitkavein. Okay, it's referring to the person whose intent it is to cut off that section of leprosy. Tenach gadol. So if that's the case, that seems to apply well to the situation of an adult. Katan, mai ikala. But what can you say in terms of a minor? Amar Rav Masharshia, says Rav Masharshia, Ba'omer, okay, it's when the father says, Ba'omer avi haben, v'kutz b'heret dibnohu kat mitkavein. It's a situation where he's saying that the father of the infant made a specific assertion that, okay, with intent that one cut off this section of leprosy that might be there. V'ika acher, Okay, and then if there is another, okay, and we say if there's another person to perform the Brit Milah, the Avid Acher, then why not let the other person do the Brit Milah? The Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, as said by the Rabbi Reish Lakish, Kol makom she'ata motzei aseh v'lo ta'aseh. Any place that you find both a positive command and a negative command in opposition to it, right? And that's what we have here to perform the Brit Milah. But again, the prohibition of removing the spot of leprosy. Okay, so that's our case, right? Okay. V'lo ta'aseh. Im ata yachol lekayem shnehem mutav. If you're able to do both of them, that's preferable. Okay? V'im lav, and if not, yavo aseh v'yidche lo ta'aseh. Deleka acher. Right? Then you should let the positive command come, and that should overcome, supersede the negative command, and particularly in a case that we have here, where there is no other person to do the Brit Milah. Okay. Let's come back now to another statement that we find in the text. Amar Mar. Again, the master said, Yom Tov eina doche ele bizmana bilvad. Okay? That if the 8th day comes out in a yontif, therefore we would do the Brit Milah, otherwise not. Okay? On that day. Okay? So the Gemara asks, Mina hani mili, how do we know this? Right? Amar Chizkiah. So according to this, Chizkiah said, right? V'chein tana debei Chizkiah. And likewise, it was taught in the academy of Chizkiah. Amar Kra. We've got the pasuk. Lo tatiru mimenu ad boker. Okay? That elsewhere it says, you should not allow anything to remain, remember a korban, until the morning, right? And then continuing, Ma Talmud lomar ad boker. What does it mean when it says until the morning? Why is it phrased in the pasuk twice? Baha katuv liten lo boker sheni l'sreifato. Okay, comes the pasuk then to teach us when it says until the morning that you have a second morning, okay, for its burning. Abaye Amar says Abaye Amar Kra. Therefore, we have another pasuk that says Olat Shabbat b'Shabbaton. Okay, V'lo Olat Chol b'Shabbat, V'lo Olat Chol b'Yom Tov. Okay? Saying that implies that the Olah is to be burned on its day, namely on Shabbat, but not done on a weekday. Okay, not left over to be burnt, so to speak, on a weekday or burned on a festival. Okay. Rabba Amar, says Rabba Amar Kra, another pasuk, Hu levado ya'aseh lachem. Okay, the pasuk is that no manner of work be done in them, save that which a man must eat. In other words, only permitting ochel nefesh on Yom Tov. That may be done. And so what does it say? Excuse me. Hu levado ya'aseh lachem. Right? Hu velo machshirin. The act itself and not its preparation. Levado, by itself. Velo mila shelo bizmana. And that means that it does not permit circumcision that's not at its time, the acha mikal v'chomer, okay, which therefore can come from a kal v'chomer argument. Now, Rav Ashi Amar, says Rav Ashi, is going to give a different explanation. He cites a different pasuk. Shabbaton asahu. Rav Ashi says on the 7th day of Shabbat, it's being a Shabbaton, a day of rest. All right? And he tells us, V'havale Yom Tov Aseh, V'lo Ta'aseh. Okay? And here we have an affirmative commandment as well as a negative commandment in regards to the holidays, right? Ve'en oseh doche et lo ta'aseh ve'aseh. And we don't have a situation, says Rav Ashi, where we can have a single aseh that supersedes the combination of both a lo ta'aseh and an aseh. Okay. So that was his explanation of why the Brit Milah, unless specifically the 8th day, could not be done on a Yom Tov. Excuse me. Okay, going on. Right? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Halacha Rabbi Akiva. He says the law follows Rabbi Akiva in terms of the general principle that he said. Right? V'utnan, and we also learn in the Mishnah, Nami Gabe Pesach, Ki Hai Gavna. Okay, and also we learn in regards to the Passover sacrifice. Okay, a similar principle. Okay, namely, Klal Amar Rabbi Akiva, Kol Malacha She'efshar La La'asota Me'erev Shabbat, Eina Dochet HaShabbat. Okay, where he said that any work that can be done before, on the eve of the Shabbat, namely before Shabbat starts, does not supersede Shabbat. Shchita, she'i afshar la'asota me'erev Shabbat, dochet HaShabbat. The slaughtering then, in this case of the Pesach, right? If Pesach comes out on a Shabbat, the 14th, right, of Adar, okay, you can't slaughter it beforehand. You must slaughter it then on that day, on Shabbat. Va'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, halacha Rabbi Akiva. And the law, according to Rav, follows the general principle of Rabbi Akiva, right? Now, you might ask, well, why do we need both examples? With Sricha, says the Gemara, and we need to cite both examples. The Iash Me'inan Gabe Mila, because if we had only learned it in regards to the situation of circumcision, Hatamhu, okay, the Machshiri Efshar La'asot Me'etmol Lo Ducho Shabbat. That in that case, we could say that the preparations, okay, could be done the previous day, in other words, before Shabbat, right? Why is that the case? Right? Lo dachu Shabbat, deleka karet, because then there would be no punishment of karet. Aval Pesach, the ika karet, but perhaps Pesach, where there is a punishment of karet, ema lidchu Shabbat. I might argue that perhaps maybe the preparations for Korban Pesach should also be able to be done on Shabbat because it has a unique punishment. Unlike Mila. V'iyash me'inin gabe Pesach. And if I had only learned, okay, the klal in terms of Pesach, mishum delo nichratu aleh yud gimel britot. I might say maybe that would be following that principle, because there were not 13 statements in, as we said yesterday, in the chapter of Genesis regarding Abraham, references to Mila. Aval Mila, dinichretu alav yud gimel britot. But in regards to Mila, where we have 13 specific statements regarding the act of circumcision. Okay, that makes it, again, a unique situation, right? Ema litchuye Shabbat, and I would say there that it would supersede Shabbat, tzricha. Therefore, I need both of these examples of general principles referred to, stated by Akiba. Okay, and we finish that particular sugya. Okay, now, as we go into this next Mishnah, okay, we're going to deal with some of the details of the act of circumcision. Okay, as I'm sure you're aware, there are multiple steps, I'll call it, in terms of carrying out the act. Okay, normally some of them today are done a little bit in advance, but normally at the circumcision itself, there are, let's call it 2 or 3 steps that are required. Okay, besides the actual, let's say, I'll call it lifting of the skin. Okay, there is the cutting of the skin. There is some removal of blood around the wound. Traditionally, it was done by sucking, and then there is putting some sort of compress, bandage, etc. on it. Okay? As we start this new Mishnah. Okay? Our Mishnah teaches, Osin kol tzorkei milah b'Shabbat. According to the Mishnah, we may do all of the requirements for circuit. My internet, okay, is unstable. Okay, for on Shabbat, mohalim, we do the actual circumcision. Uporin, we uncover the skin. Umotzitzin, and we suck the blood from the wound. Benotnin aleha ispalanit ukamon, and we put upon it a, let's say, a bandage of some kind that has cumin in it, okay, in a bandage. Ve'im lo shachak me'erev Shabbat, and if one did not crush or grind up the cumin before Shabbat started, what does the Moel need to do? Lo es b'shinav v'notein, that he grinds it, chews on it, okay, with his teeth, and then he would apply it, okay, to the wound. Im lo taraf, okay, and if he didn't mix it properly, wine and oil, me'erev Shabbat, okay, also that's part of the procedure, okay, Yinatein ze ba'atzmo v'ze ba'atzmo. Then he puts each on separately on the item. Now, be'ein osin la chaluk b'chila, okay, but the Mishnah tells us, but we may not put what we call a chaluk, which is let's say it's a kind of bandage that some want to describe it like a shirt, okay? In other words, think of Band-Aids that fit over and all around the organ, okay? V'chadchila, aval korech aleha smartut, but rather he wraps some shmata, some cloth around it. Im lo hitkin me'erev Shabbat, and if he did not prepare this before Shabbat, korech al etzba'o, he would wrap it on his finger in order to bring it to the place of circumcision. umevi, and brings it, va'afilu mechatzer acheret, says the Mishnah, even if he has to bring it from another courtyard. Okay, going on now to Amud Beis, the Gemara. Michdi, since, says the Gemara, Katani kulhu kol tzorchei milah, since our Mishnah says everything in regards to the preparations, the needs for milah, la tuye mai, what else then do we need to include? La atuye ha tatanu rabbanan, to include that which the rabbis taught, himol, to perform the circumcision, calls man shahu osek b'milah, so long that he is still involved, I'll say, in the actual act of cutting, okay, right, if you will, chozer ben al hachatzitzin hame'akvin et hamilah, that he can go back then and then remove any shreds of skin that may invalidate the circumcision. Hold it up. Ben al hatzitzin she'ein ma'akvin et hamilah. Okay, whether these are shreds of skin that ordinarily wouldn't hold up the milah, perish, then he can separate them. But once he moves his hand, okay, al tzitzin hame'akvin et hamilah chozer, on those shreds of skin, okay, that would be ma'akev, that would limit the milah, he could go back. Al tzitzin she'en ma'akvin, but on threads of skin, shreds of skin, that would not invalidate the circumcision at the milah, eino chozer, he's not able to go back. So the Gemara continues. Man tana peresh eino chozer, is the one who teaches that he separates, he moves his hand, withdraws his hand, he can't go back. Amar Rava bar bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan bram Brokai. Who was the Tana who said this? It was Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka. The Tanya, as he teaches, Arba'a asar shecholiot b'Shabbat. Take the example of the Pesach again, okay, where the Korban Pesach, in a situation where the day for preparing the animal comes out on Shabbat itself, the 14th. He said, Mafshit Adam HaPesach Ad Chazeh, that one may flay the skin off the animal simply up to the chest area. Okay? Right? Divrei Rabbi Yishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka. Okay, that was his view. B'chachamim omrim mafshitin et kulo. But the sages say one can flay all of the skin off the animal. Mimai, on what basis do we say this? Ad kan lo ka'amar Rabbi Yishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka hatam. Up to here, we say that Rabbi Yishmael said this, right, in that situation. Mishum delo ba'inan ze eli ve'anvehu. Because we say maybe he doesn't require the fulfillment of the pasuk that this is my God and I will adorn him. Aval hacha, but here, in regards to the situation of the milah, the ba'inan ze eli ve'anvehu, that maybe we say here too, okay, he would argue that's necessary. Hachinami, here too, the Tanya, Zek Leva Anvehu. Okay, that we see here that the Braita teaches, it says to adorn Hashem, Hatna'a Lefanav b'mitzvot, that one should beautify, okay, an act of mitzvah. Asa lefanav sukkah, for example, by having a beautiful sukkah. V'lulav na'eh, and then a beautiful lulav. v'shofar na'eh, and a beautiful shofar. Tzitzit na'eh, and a beautiful tzitzis on a talus. Sefer Torah na'eh, and a beautiful Sefer Torah. Uktiv bo lishmo b'dio na'eh. And when we say a beautiful Sefer Torah, we imply that it's written with nice ink, b'kumus na'eh, and a nice pen. By pen I mean, the feather, okay? B'lavlar omein, and with a scribe that's a practiced scribe, professional scribe. V'korcho b'shira'i na'im, and then it should be wrapped up with the beautiful silks. Okay? Abba Shaul omer, va'anvehu, and Abba Shaul now says, when it says to adorn him, Havei domelo, it means to be like him. Namely, Mahu Chanun V'rachum, the same way God is considered kind, merciful. Af atahayen Chanun V'rachum. So likewise, you need to be kind and merciful. Ela Amar Rav Ashi. Ha-mani, says Rav Ashi, who then is this author of this Tana? Rabbi Yossi. It's really Rabbi Yossi, the Tnan, okay, who teaches in regards to the new moon, right? Bein shenira ba'alil, whether it's seen clearly. Bein shelo nira ba'alil, whether it's not seen clearly. Mechalalin at alav et Shabbat. It is permissible to desecrate the Shabbat for the witnesses to go to the Beis Din to testify. Rabbi Yossi Omer Nir'eh Ba'alil. Rabbi Yossi says, if it's seen clearly, Ein Mechalalin alav et Shabbat. There's no reason for distant potential witnesses, okay, to be desecrate Shabbat if the new moon is seen clearly. Mimai, on what basis do we say this? Dilma adkan lo ka'amar Rabbi Yossi. Maybe up at this point, Rabbi Yossi did not say this, right? Hatam, there in regards to, okay, the new moon, delo nitna Shabbat lidchot, because we could argue that he's saying that Shabbat then is not superseded, it must be observed. Aval hacha, in regards to circumcision, did nitna Shabbat lidachot, that here, okay, Shabbat may be superseded. Hachinami, here too. Ela amar nahadai, but rather the sages of Nahardea give the following. Rabbanan, the pligi ele de Rabbi Yossi. It's a situation where the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Yossi, namely, the Tnan, as it was taught in this Mishnah, Arba'a Kohanim Nichnasim. When we're talking about the showbread in the time of the temple, okay, 4 Kohanim would enter on Shabbat. Shnayim biyadam, shnei starim. 2 of them in their hands are carrying the 2 stacks of loaves. Ushnayim biyadam, shnei bezichim. And 2 others hold in their hands the spoons of incense. Va'arba'a makdimin lifnehem. And 4 other Kohanim went in before them. Shnayim litol, shnei starim. 2 come to remove the 2 stacks that are existing there. Ushnayim litol, shnei bzichim. And 2 to remove the currently existing spoons of incense. Ha-machnisin omdim b'tzafon, those who enter come in from the north, pneihem l'darom, and they're facing the south. V'hamotzi'in omdim b'darom, and those who are, I'm going to say, exiting, in other words, are going to be removing, stand facing the south, upneihem litzafon, and they're facing north. Elu moshchin ve'elu menichin. These push or slide, and these gradually remove. Okay? Or I'll put it the other way, opposite. These slowly remove, and these gradually slide them in. Tfacho shel zeh, b'tzad tfacho shel zeh. And therefore, the piece, the new showbread, is very close, almost right up against the old showbread. Okay? Mishum shene'amar. Why? Because the pasuk says, Lifnei Hashem tamid, that it's supposed to be there continuously. In other words, no interruption. Rabbi Yossi Omer, says Rabbi Yossi says, Afilo elu notlin ve'elu menichin. Even if it was such that these were to remove and these were to place, af zeh hayat tamid, that would still be there all the time, continuously. Okay? New Braita. Tanu Rabbanan, says a new Braita. Mahal kiliktin et hamila. Okay? We gather, in other words, gathering together to trim the skin, right? V'im lo hilkate. Okay? And if the moel does not gather the skin together, anush karet. He would be punished with karet. Mani, according to whom? Amar Rav Kahana, Amir, says Rav Kahana. Mat kifla Rav Papa. Rav Papa challenges him, says, Omein, you're talking about the craftsman? So you say to him, Ana, avdei palga de mitzvah. He could say to all the people, I did half the mitzvah. Atun avditu palga de mitzvah. You need also to do half the mitzvah. El amar Rav Papa. There's Rav Papa. Gadol. That's a situation where we're talking about an adult. Mat kifla Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi challenges it again. Gadol behedya kativ bey. For the adult, okay, it's specifically written. Va'arel zachar asher lo himol. Okay, there it's specifically written, right? That the uncircumcised male, not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and then the pasuk continues, that soul shall be cut off from his people. Okay? Ela amar Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi says, La'olam omein. We're always talking about the moil. Ukagon da'ata bein hashmashot to Shabbat. And we're dealing with this unique situation where the Brit Milah is supposed to take place at twilight on the eve of Shabbos. Va'amrule, and they said to him, Lo, excuse me, mispakat, you don't have enough time. Va'amar laho, and he said to them, Maspakina, I do have enough time. Va'avad v'lo histapik, and he went and proceeded, and there wasn't enough time. V'ishtechach dechavurahu da'avid, and we see then that he ultimately was made a wound. Va'anush karet, and in that situation, he would be punished with karet. Okay, finishing up now, motzitzin, we continue. The next stage, where it said you have to remove the blood around the wound. Amara Papa, Hai Umana, this craftsman, Moel, the Loma eats, who doesn't perform this sucking, okay, of the wound. Sakanahu, there's a danger here, right? Va'avrinanle, and we should, so to speak, pass him over. In other words, dismiss him, fire him. Don't let him continue. Pshita, that's obvious, says the Gemara. Midaka mechalel aleha shabta. Why? Because we're saying he's desecrating the Shabbat. Okay, sakanahu. That's the danger. Mahu datema. What are you saying? Hai dam mifkad pakid. We're saying that the situation is such that the blood is stored up there. Kamash malan chavure mechaber. And therefore it comes to teach us that in not doing it completely, the result is a wound, right? Vadumya de ispalanit ukamon. And this is similar to the situation with regards to the bandage and the cumin. Ma ispalit ukamin kilo avid sakanahu, where a bandage and the cumin is medicine, okay, and it doesn't done is a danger. Hafhachanami kilo avid sakanahu. So here too, if this sucking is not done, it's also a danger. Next piece from our Mishnah, V'notnina leha isplanit. And we said one puts a compress or a bandage on it. Amar Abai, says Abai, Amra li ein. Mother told me. Remember, his mother was really his his nurse who raised him. Sorry. Isplanita the kulhun kive. Okay? She said that this compress is for all pains, all kinds of wounds. Shad minai tarba. It's made from 7 varieties of fat or wax. B'chad akira. And 1 of wax. Rav Amar kira v'kilba rishine. And the Rava says it's made from wax and tree sap, resin. Okay? Darsha Rabba b'mechosa. And at one time, Rabba, gave a explanation, a sermon, a drasha, in the city of Machosa. Kar'inhu b'nei Menunyai. And the family of Minyome, okay, who were Asya, who were doctors, Leminaihu, okay, and they began to be upset, okay, right, and they tore their bandages. Amar laho shavke lechu chada da'amar Shmuel. He says, don't throw away all your bandages. He says, because I left you one example as indicated by Shmuel, one cure that was important. Hai man damashe ape. Okay? If a person washes their face, v'lo nagiv tuva, and he doesn't dry it well, niktaru le, he's going to break out, has panita, in scabs, as we go over briefly. Okay? Right? Mai takante, what is his remedy? Limshe tuva b'maya desilka. He needs to wash then his face again wash well in water in which beets have been cooked, in beet juice. Okay? So I'll just continue a tiny bit more. Right? Lo shachak me'erev Shabbat. What about the fact that he did not crush the cumin before Shabbat? Tanu Rabbanan, says the Braita. Dvarim she'en osim lamila b'Shabbat, osim la b'yom tov. Things that could not be done for circumcision on Shabbat may be done on the holidays. So chakim la kamin, one can crush the cumin, but torfim la yayin b'shemen, and one can mix wine and oil. Amar le'abai l'Rav Yosef. Ma'ishna kamin b'yom tov. What is so unique about crushing the cumin on Yom Tov? Dechaze l'kedera. Okay, it could be, perhaps it can be used from a dish. Yain v'shemen chazinami b'Shabbat l'chola. Wine and oil also are suitable on Shabbat for somebody who's sick. The Tanya, Ein Torfin Yain V'Shemen L'Choler B'Shabbat. But we have a braita that says that one cannot mix up wine and oil for somebody who's sick on Shabbat. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Mishum Rabbi Meir. He says in the name of Rabbi Meir, Af Torfin Yain V'Shemen, who says that one can beat wine and oil together on Shabbat. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, he says in the following story, Pamachat Chash Rabbi Meir b'me'av. One time Rabbi Meir was sick in his intestines. Ubekashnu l'trof lo yain v'shemen, and we wanted to mix him wine and oil. V'lo hinachnu, and he didn't permit us. Amarnu lo, and we said to him, Devarecha yevatlu b'chayecha? You're going to say that your own words are going to be nullified, okay, during your lifetime? In other words, you don't follow what you teach. Amar lanu, he said to them, Afal pi she'ani omer kach, even though I say this, v'chavairai omrim kach, and my colleagues say something else, miyamai lo mal'eni libi la'avor al devarei chavairai. Okay, I never allow myself to conflict with the rules of my colleagues. Hu nechu demachmir anafshe, and therefore he was stringent on himself. Aval kuli alma shari, but for all others, okay, there is, he permitted. Hatam lo bai leka, there then he did not permit the beating. Hacha bai leka, but here, okay, for others he would permit it to be beaten, to be mixed well. Hachanami na'avid, here too, that's what we will do likewise, okay? V'lo lech, we won't mix it well. Hainu dikatani, notein ze b'fnei atzmo, v'ze b'fnei atzmo. And that's why our Mishnah taught, regards to Mila, you put this on separate and you put this on separate. And we'll stop today right there, okay? Everybody have a good Shabbat and stay well.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good Shabbos.
Okay, take
Good
care.
Shabbos, Rabbi, and all. Be well.
Be well, everybody.